This week I was observing in my own body a type of tension. I was observing a type of stress. And I wanted to discuss this, to talk about the difference between a really super stressed and unnatural tension and normal tension and the polarity that tension and stress and, let's take it even further, anxiety and fear and discomfort rest on. This may sound like what does this have to do with spiritual awakening, right? But it very much does. Because most of us en route to spiritual awakening are running from something or pushing something away. So there's always a polarity involved in one way or another. And there's always some sort of tension. So my own tension that I was noticing. I'm speaking about this because as is my general blue-collar enlightenment modus operandi, I don't like to give the impression that spiritual awakening is stress-free. That spiritual awakening leaves you in a completely constant state of bliss. Not true. So this body-mind here also has stress, also has tension, and it's totally normal. So let me go all the way to the root here, because we have to talk about the root level of stress and tension when we talk about spiritual awakening. Life itself is tension. Life itself has an inherent amount of stress in it. Life itself is conditional. It has a polarity to it. So there's no escaping this fact. With awakening, one does not just all of a sudden break the laws of physics. So, sure, I have tension, I have stress, very natural, very normal. I, like you, have responsibilities, I have commitments, I have engagements, I have things that I need to do, that must be done, that are part of the life that I've created. And with that comes tension. So those are always there. But there's a greater tension here in spiritual awakening. There's a greater kind of ultimate polarity. And this is what I really want you to take away from this video. Notice how in any given moment where you're experiencing tension or stress or anxiety or fear, if you really notice it in your body, there's a polarity there. There's one side of it feels to be really eloquent here, feels icky. And the other side, if you notice the full extent of polarity, actually has something in it that doesn't feel icky, that feels okay, that's part of the freedom side. But often we never notice that side. We only notice the stress, we only notice the tension, we never notice, and we run from it. Or we hide it, mask it, numb it, medicate it. We never notice that inherent in any particular moment of stress or fear or separation, there's a side to it that is freedom itself. So now let me be specific about this in my own terms. And again, I'm telling you this because I want you to notice it the next time you feel this great pain You feel this anxiety, if you're sensitive to it, that's in the body, in the heart, and in your being. There's a polarity involved in it. And if you simply go into the polarity and allow it, allow that tension to be there, you will see it will uncover the other side of it. So in my own case, throughout what one sensitizes oneself to is this deep existential separation, this deep existential pain, essentially. You've heard the Buddha say life is suffering. Well, you really do have to get to the root of that. Indeed, there is a quality that life is suffering. But if you allow, if you accept, if you fully embrace this suffering, the polarity of it switches. And it, oddly enough, still retains some of the same type of tension. So this tension that you feel as anxiety, it flips its polarity, and there it is also in the body as bliss, as freedom. I know this sounds really weird. The only thing, again, that I want you to take away from this video, the next time that you're experiencing this, try to find the freedom in that tension. Notice how it lands in the body, in your emotions, in the mind, etc. Just stop and be with it. Allow it to be fully present with it. And you will notice that it has two sides to it. The icky side and the side that is totally okay. The side that is welcomed by the heart, that is welcomed here. And the side that actually feels pretty darn good. This whole movement, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, is a very large part of the awakening process, where you fine-tune it, and you fine-tune it right down to the existential level of separation and fear itself, and what does that feel like in the body? And just on the other side of that coin is freedom itself. So you're no longer running, you're no longer at war, you're no longer hating, you're no longer trying to get away from life itself. Because life itself inherently has a polarity to it. So you stop being separate from it. So this polarity is something that can sound abstract from a distance, but it'll become very real for you if you can remember the next time that you're experiencing this, to take a minute or two and to sit down and to really feel it, and to feel into the wisdom that, just like in some of my teaching recently, that it's an invitation. It's an invitation to notice truth. It's an invitation to actually notice freedom. All of this is an alternative way of expressing the Tao. T-A-O. Am I spelling that right? I think so. The yin and yang, polarity. And it's one thing to talk about it, to see images of it. It's quite another thing to actually feel the Tao, to be sensitive to the Tao internally, emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically. It's quite something. So because repetition is a good thing, and I think that we all learn with a little repetition, again, my last bit of advice, remember this throughout the week. Remember to notice that during a moment of tension, during a moment of anxiety, during a moment of fear, during a moment that's not so great, to sit down, breathe, and feel and allow, and feel what's happening, and see if you can find the polar opposite of what you've been running from, because it's right there, inviting you in. That's your homework assignment for the next week. Okay? Thanks for hanging out with me this Sunday morning, and I hope you have a great week. Leave a comment. I'm happy to talk with you, to say hello, and I'll see you next Sunday morning. Bye-bye.